5:30 p.m., your 2-year-old son Philip was left unattended while taking a bath.
Yes, the phone rang
And he stood up in the tub.
I always told him never.
He reached for his washcloth.
I was about to reach for it myself when the phone
and
rang.
he slipped, falling against the side of the tub.
We rushed him to the hospital.
And you, Mr. James McGinnis, on June 5th at 6:15 p.m., you left your cup of hot coffee on an end table.
I went to look for the evening paper. I couldn't have been gone more than a minute.
But the baby crawled to the table and tipped the scalding coffee over.
The doctor said the burns weren't too bad. She'll be fine in a couple of months. Accidents happen.
You make us sound heartless. We're not. We do what we can. We're anxious for our children to grow up without injury. But sometimes it's difficult to anticipate things kids do. And we ask ourselves, how can we avoid falls? How can we prevent poisonings and burns and other accidents? How do we protect our children?
Dr. J. Arena suggests ways to safeguard our children.
More than 1/3 of all childhood deaths are due to accidents. 1 out of 3 deaths in children in the age group of 1 to 14 is from an accident. The total figure is approximately 16,000 deaths a year. You might ask, do small children under a year of age, do they have accidents? Well, indeed they do. There are approximately 3,600 deaths in children under a year of age, or 300 per month. Now, why do we have this problem? And what should we be doing about this problem? We have this problem mainly because children, young children, are explorers. They learn by trial and error. They like to sample things. They're attracted by anything that glitters. And most parents are not in tune with the rapid growth and development of their small children. In a busy private practice of 35 years, I've had the sad experience of seeing children brought in with first and second degree burns of the face because the mother failed to realize that her child could reach the top of the stove and pull down the boiling water. Or that a child that is brought in with a fracture of the arm because the parents have failed to realize that the child could climb the steps and then roll down and break his arm. In addition, there are other factors that may cause accidents in children. Hunger or fatigue can make a child more susceptible to accidents. Illness of the parent may cause a feeling of rejection in the child. Substitution of the person caring for the child can upset his routine. Continually tense relationship between parents is reflected in a child's behavior. A sudden change of a child's environment, as in moving or at vacation time, provides new hazards. When mother is rushed or too busy, her attention may be distracted from the child. Parents' expectations of children should coincide with the child's ability to understand what is expected. Requiring a child to perform above his capacity can only lead to frustration. Teach your child obedience and discipline. By discipline, I mean setting limits, by education, by example, particularly example by the parents, by encouragement, by cooperation, by insistence, and sometimes by punishment, but not necessarily physical punishment. This can be done by curtailing some of the child's liberties, for example, his favorite TV program. Finally, let me say that parents should love, respect, and enjoy their children. Their response is most effective discipline.
Mr. and Mrs. Charles Robb, daughter and son-in-law of the late President Lyndon Johnson, began teaching obedience to their Lucinda and Kathy at an early age.
The American Academy of Pediatrics tells us that young children are not only safer, but happier if obedience is a childhood responsibility. Even a young child of 1 can learn to take simple commands. As parents, we also try to stay alert to the typical danger zones around the home. The kitchen is an obvious one, with hot ranges, boiling liquids, and electric toaster.
Children usually imitate both good and bad examples. Try to set a good example for your children by observing correct safety practices.
We avoid falls when stairs are free from clutter and have adequate light. In the garage, tools should be kept in their place, out of children's reach. Most parents spot check for broken glass, rusty nails, and insecticides left down after use.
Don't wait to make necessary repairs around the home. A repair made in time could avoid an accident. Brightly colored decals will help alert active youngsters when sliding glass patio doors are closed. Always clean up after making repairs. Tools should be put away immediately. Children under 5 are in the exploring stage. An open pocketbook begs to be searched. Pills and medicine inside could prove fatal if eaten by a child. Household products such as kerosene, polishes, and other cleaning agents may look harmless, but in the wrong hands are potential poisons. Mrs. Robb explains to her children the dangers of certain situations. She uses words like hurt and cut, sick instead of poison or harmful. All aerosol products should be put away safely after use.
Don, I really needed you here to do this because I don't know which is yours and which is mine.
It's always best to separate external and internal medications by placing them on different shelves or in different cabinets.
Oh, what about this? Is this yours?
Yeah, but it's old. Let's just get rid of it.
Okay, well, I'll throw
Oh,
it
wait.
over.
The medicine cabinet is for adults only. In it should be medicines with legible labels. All unused portions of prescriptions or unlabeled preparations are a potential danger to everyone in the home and should be destroyed.
No, let's don't use that. It's a food jar. Do you have another container?
Well, I have one more bottle here.
That's fine. That's great.
Never transfer substances into food or beverage containers. All medications should be kept in their original containers. If it is necessary to transfer contents from the original because of damage, the new container should be labeled, indicating the exact substance trade name, strength, and special directions regarding its use. Manufacturers include information about the product and proper administration on the label. Always read labels carefully before giving medicine to children, and never describe medicine as candy. Labels give information on how to use chemicals, but labels are effective only if they are read and the warnings followed. Watch for key words on labels. Danger, warning, or caution indicate extreme care should be taken in using and storing these products. Once labels are read and the medicine cabinet is arranged, there are still other precautions. Mrs. Robb doesn't just lock her medicine cabinet, she locks entire rooms when not in use. Safety closures are an added measure of protection. The first safety cap for children's aspirin was introduced in 1958. Since then, industry and the government have worked jointly to improve child safety in the field of home medicine and continue to search for the best protection for children. The manufacturer provides the important information on how to replace the safety cap properly. Proper use of safety packaging is important, but even more important is constant awareness that all medicines, including those in safety packaging, must be kept out of the reach of children. And if there is an emergency, the American Academy of Pediatrics advises 1 ounce of Ipecac syrup be kept in the home in case of poisonings. Community poison control centers are experts in the treatment of accidental poisonings. Center personnel are prepared to quickly diagnose symptoms and give valuable assistance. They're kept abreast of the newest household chemicals and what is best prescribed for children who swallow them. Find the phone number of your local poison control center and keep this number close to the phone at all times. In case of emergency, it could save your child's life. The principal type of home accident involving children comes from fires and burns. Matches should be kept out of reach, and open fires should have safety screens. Electric heaters and vaporizers should be kept out of a child's reach. Electrical outlets should be covered. Handles on pots should be turned inward when resting on the range. Defective wires should be replaced immediately, and cords should never dangle within a child's reach. Parents should also check infant sleepwear to be certain it is fire retardant.
One of our main concerns is safe equipment for the girls. Their toys are well constructed and not easily pulled apart. I think all parents are taking an extra hard look at toys and infant furniture. When the girls were much smaller, we made certain that their cribs had 2 3/8 inches maximum spacing between slats, close enough together that their heads would not be caught. The National Safety Council advises that the sides of the crib be operated with a locking, hand-operated latch. They advise parents to double-check that the mattress is the same size as the crib, so there are no gaps to catch arms or legs. We never left the crib rails down while the girls were in them. Large toys could be used as steps, so we left them out. The American Academy of Pediatrics and National Safety Council remind us that from the time the girls left their cribs, we parents remain their chief source of information and practical lessons. It's a responsibility that demands patience and keeping in tune with rapid growth and development. It means staying aware of their widening range of activities. It means a tough, difficult challenge, but one we welcome with open arms.
Mrs. Helen Vance McGinnis, last week you were charged with doing all the following. Staying with your preschool child while he was in the bathtub.
I learned my lesson.
Destroying all thin plastic wrapping and flushing all dangerous substances down the drain before discarding their containers. And keeping peanuts and hard candy out of the reach of your children. Mr. McGinnis, during the same week, you were charged with preparing an adequate fire escape plan for all members of your family, removing the door of an unused refrigerator, unloading and locking your firearm.
Would you believe I still found a bullet in the old thing?
Securing your porch rails, moving the radio out of the bathroom, and removing all cleaning agents and insecticides from under the sink. All these charges, Mr. and Mrs. McGinnis. How do you plead?
Guilty!
Hello, everybody. I'm Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show. That was Protecting Young Lives, and it was made by North Carolina filmmaker the Kleins. The company was Walter J. Klein, which is based in Charlotte, and this is very much in keeping with the Walter J. Klein style, in that it is sponsored by somebody, and in this case it was the people that make St. Joseph's baby aspirin, the most delicious of the baby aspirins in my mind, and it has like some sort of safety content. There's a mild bit of humor in talking to the parents in the accusatory way the parents respond, and take that model and just duplicate it hundreds of times for all the different Walter J. Klein films that came out. There's bus safety films. There's films about pipes. There's films about shopping. There's films about dental hygiene, and all of them are sponsored by somebody, and they all have this, this kind of thing. And his model, Walter J. Klein's model, we actually hosted him at the State Archives, and he and his son came and talked about how they did the films. And the idea is that they would come up with a kind of rough idea of what they wanted to do, then they would shop it around to the different potential sponsors and say, like, all right, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to make this film. You'll get sole sponsorship, and then we'll distribute the film to TV stations who are looking for free content. They'll show the content because it's informational. Then they will, it'll be distributed to schools. It'll be, all these different ways. And then your company will get branded as being a responsible sponsor of this important information. And so this was his model. And he did this countless times. So Walter J. Klein, North Carolina based. He also did advertising. I've probably said this before, but he was one of the people that helped kind of brand Chimney Rock into a tourist destination. He also helped create Texas Pete hot sauce, which is made in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And also, regrettably, helped south of the border with their branding to turn them into a tourist spot. He did other things as well, but he was a nice guy. He was a very, very interesting guy to talk with, and so that's one of his legacy films. All right, so I collect old 16mm educational films and show them to you, and I've been doing this for a while. I guess one of my backup shows that I had made, like when I was going to go to the beach, in case I couldn't broadcast from there, I had a backup show uploaded to YouTube, and it fired yesterday. It was released into the world, so hope some of you enjoyed it. It had already done that on Facebook weeks ago. I have to figure out how to do the backup shows because we are entering hurricane season, and excuse me, so I need to figure out a way to do that. That was not the most elegant way, but some of you got a free show, so thanks for watching that. And you guys figured out it wasn't a current show because my hair had grown back to a shaggy mound. So thanks, everybody. Okay, so just a quick thank you to Chad and Kevin for delicious coffee. You can donate. It's not quite like a mirror. It's just really annoying. You can donate to AV Geeks by buying us coffee. That is the lubricant that keeps AV Geeks going. So thank you, you guys, Kevin and Chad, for those delicious things of coffee. All right. This is part of a show I did called When Hippies Roamed the Earth. And I tried to have educational films that featured hippies, both in a positive light and a negative light. And this one it just featured them in a band. And so this is Repossession, Your Right to a Hearing.
It ain't gonna work, Mrs. Egan.
What do you mean it's not going to work?
You haven't paid a rent for 4 months.
Mr. Scott, I told you that I'm going to get you a check.
When the check gets here, then you will get in the room.
A landlord can no longer lock out a tenant. The tenant first has the right to a court hearing.
In there, it's always at the bottom.
Oh, wait a minute. It's the wrong check there. This is only for 1 day, and I worked a full week.
Maybe you haven't paid your bills, and they might have garnished your wages.
I worked a full week.
I have no control over that. Pay your bills.
Wages can no longer be garnished without your first having the opportunity of a hearing.
Oh, por favor, no se lleven la refrigeradora. Es la única que tengo y no puedo. Se me van a arruinar las cosas. Por favor, déjenme. Oh, no.
Personal property can no longer be repossessed from your home against your will without giving you a chance to tell your side of the story in court.
Barney Salisbury?
That's me.
I'm serving you with a municipal court summons on the attached complaint.
Whoa, wait a minute. You don't understand.
Hey, I'm sorry.
But it's like a...
Hey, listen, I'm sorry.
Look out. Hey, what is it? I'm 3 months behind on my guitar and amplifier payment. You're kidding, Barney. I got 30 days to answer this. Come up with the whole thing. $760. What else? What else what? Or else no guitar. No guitar, no group. No group, no gigs. No gigs, no money. No money, no eats.
It says here, if you wish to seek the advice of an attorney...
Oh, the money. What's to defend?
I don't know, but a lawyer might.
Yeah, for more dough we don't have. Yeah, but I heard when you're broke, there are free legal services you can go to.
I think there's something called the Neighborhood Legal Services Society.
Well...
Barney, you gotta try.
Well, try, but I don't think it'll do any good. It's too late. What can I do now?
We can file a written answer to this summons, and as long as we can come up with some kind of a straight answer about why you haven't paid, you have a right to a hearing in court, and maybe we can work out something in front of the judge about the payments.
So they can't just take my guitar and my pay?
That's right. In most states, they can't take any of your personal property, except for a car in some situations, until you've had a hearing before a judge. So as long as we can file an answer to this thing in time, you have a right to a court hearing.
It sounds too complicated. Let them try to take my guitar.
Hey, wait a minute. Come on back. Sit down. It's really not that much trouble. Why don't you just tell me the whole story?
Well, I was working with my band for a while, and we've been practicing pretty regularly, and it was sounding pretty good, and the rest of the guys in the band had pretty good instruments. Figured it was about time I got a new guitar and an amplifier. So I went down to the music store, and I found a guitar I really loved.
Hey, now here's a young man's really got taste. Beautiful little instrument,
Really
isn't it?
nice, yeah.
Let me tell you something. We have a special on this. I can knock $50 off the tag price. How do you like that? 50?
Good.
And we can give you terms, real good budget terms, low as you need them.
Yeah.
Don't have to worry about paying less than you
And I figured besides my regular job, I'd make up some of the money playing jobs with the band. So Mr. McIntosh there checked out my age, which was 18, and he gave me a contract to sign.
Now, let's see, a couple of vital statistics. You're 18, I think you said?
Yeah.
18. Good. Are you married?
No.
Not married.
That's about it.
Anything else?
That's all.
All right, you may step down.
Your Honor, I would just like to add one word. My client does not contest his obligation to pay under this contract, but I would like to point out that Mr. McIntosh's store is filled with signs offering bargains and special budget terms, and it's very enticing, and I think it would be easy to understand how a young man like my client might be led into taking on more than he could really pay for.
I can understand that readily, Counselor, and thank you. And I guess, Mr. McIntosh, that we ought to reflect upon the fact that if your merchandise weren't advertised in such an alluring way to younger customers, perhaps you wouldn't find yourself in a courtroom like this seeking either a repossession or some kind of an arrangement. On the other hand, Mr. Salzberg, you are 18 years old, which means that you have the capacity to enter into contracts. And what that means, of course, is that you have to be responsible for the debts that you incur. This was a valid contract. This merchant dealt fairly with you. He checked your age and so on, and he entered into a binding contract with you. You're liable to pay him the sum of money. Beyond that, you could have avoided all of this hassle, as a matter of fact, if you had simply gone down and talked to the man and explained your problem As it is, all he could see was some kind of a ripoff was going on. Now, I gather from what you said on the stand that, in fact, if he allows you to keep this equipment, then you, in the next 90 days, would be able to get off these back payments. I gather he's got some engagements lined up with the equipment, and then be able to keep the payments going regularly after that. Now, is that true?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, what about it, Mr. McIntosh? You know, actually, if you were to go along with something like this, you'd save yourself a good deal of time, headaches, and some money, I think your lawyer will tell you. So how about it, Mr. McIntosh? Are you willing to give it a try?
Well, sir, if the boy had even telephoned me and explained his problem instead of just ignoring my bills, I might have been willing to wait, but not now. I think
these men are good suggestions. Your Honor, if the court wants to defer judgment until we have had an opportunity to meet with Mr. Salzberg and his attorney and work out a new payment schedule, my client will be happy to have this case taken off calendar.
All right, Counselor. It's so ordered. Now, Mr. Salzberg, I want to put a couple thoughts into your computer before you leave the courtroom. First off, you were wise to answer this summons. There are people who don't, and those people just get into trouble. First off, what happens is that the judgment is entered against them. It's a default judgment. They're just as liable as a result of that judgment as if they had come into court and argued and presented evidence and lost. That judgment then is entered, as I said, and it results in a bad credit rating. A bad credit rating can really upset your life in future years, family life and whatnot. And it still could happen in this case. Now, if you don't pay very serious attention to whatever arrangement that you work out with Mr. McIntosh, you're going to have to abide by that agreement when you reach it. Otherwise, that equipment's simply going to be repossessed. In short, it's a heavy situation when you don't stick up to your obligations. Now, you're lucky. Mr. McIntosh did not have to make this agreement. He was legally entitled to get this judgment and then get execution on that equipment. But apparently, it looks promising that you're going to have some kind of an arrangement that's going to bail you out and let him get paid. Now, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I love that film. I mean, honestly, I love any film that is it's a consumer advocate film. And I don't know if they actually have those nowadays in schools. You know, I think it's important that consumers know their rights. And I feel like, you know, just like I feel like home ec is something that should be required by anybody in high school. I also think that consumer math and anything related to consumer stuff like balancing your checkbook, all that stuff, I think should be required for anybody, even on people that are going on a college track, especially people going on a college track who have no fundamental understanding of how consumer things work. I love that film too because it has a bunch of guys jamming out. And that's part of that time. It was accepted. Like, yeah, a bunch of dudes are in a band, and they sign this guy signs this contract to get a guitar, and yeah, it's just really pretty awesome. Thank you, William, for coffee. Very much appreciated. This next film was by Weston Woods, and I don't think I don't think I've seen this one. So this one's called Island of Island of the Skog. So this Weston Woods generally does films based on kids' books, so that's probably what it is. So here's Island of the Skog. Enjoy.
The Island of the Skog. It was National Rodent Day, a very important holiday for mice. Sort of like New Year's, Independence Day, Halloween, and your birthday all rolled into one. The neighborhood in which the mice lived was very dangerous because of mean animals like the butcher's cat, the German shepherd, and the members of the Riff Raff Rat Club. So these mice, Hannah, Wooster, Louise, Bouncer, and his buddies from the bowling alley rarely came out of their holes. But when National Rodent Day rolls around, the mice want to celebrate. They had all agreed to meet at their friend Jenny's place, the old clock in the antique shop. They all arrived shaking after a narrow escape from the butcher's cat. The mice were so badly frightened that Jenny decided to skip the main course and to wheel in the dessert right away. "Hot marshmallow cheesecake with raspberry fudge sauce," she announced. But the butcher's cat had slipped in with the delivery boy. Fortunately, the delivery boy heard the commotion and grabbed the cat just as the mice escaped to the basement. "Let's fight for freedom," cried Bouncer. "We'll be soldiers, rough-riding rowdies. I'll be the general and commander-in-chief." "Wait," cried Jenny. "I have a better idea." And she pointed up the basement stairs to the main part of the antique shop. High on the shelf was a model of a sailing ship, a ship much like the one Christopher Columbus sailed to America. But this was just the right size for a crew of mice. "Let's sail away instead. We'll find a peaceful island." "I'll be the ship's captain," declared Bouncer. "Rowdies, you're my crew. The rest of you, look alive and lend a helping hand." It took the mice most of the night to load the ship and roll it to the harbor. Ignoring the crowd at the pier, they sailed bravely out to sea. During the first few days of the voyage, the mice feasted on chocolate waffles and coconut cherry cheese pie. Between meals, they dreamed of their island and tanned their pelts in the sun. As the days passed, it grew colder and colder. The mice were unprepared for winter weather, and they huddled close to the waffle iron. The mice were beginning to think that they would never find the island of their dreams. By the time they reached warmer seas, their food supplies were very low. The mice were seasick, homesick, and convinced they would soon be dead. Suddenly, Jenny cried, "Land ho!" Wooster, who was the scholar on board, looked in the geography book. He said, "The book calls it the island of the Skog. It says population 1 Skog, but it doesn't say what a Skog is." "If there's only one, then there's plenty of room for all of us," said Louise. "Why don't we bring it a gift so it will know we're friendly?" "Wait a minute, flubberhead," snapped Bouncer. "Suppose this Skog is dangerous. Let's blaze our way to the island and show him we mean business." The rowdies fired all 12 cannonballs. And then the mice waded cautiously ashore. "I claim this land," cried Bouncer, "as a place where all mice can live without fear. We will build a great kingdom dedicated to the freedom of mice. And I will be the king." "Here, we can all feel like kings," said Jenny. "And that is the most important part of being king, as everyone knows." After unloading the supplies, the mice climbed back aboard the ship to spend the night. They were anxious to go exploring in the morning and needed a good night's sleep. At dawn, they discovered an enormous footprint in the sand. It was bigger than any mouse could ever make. "It looks like a bear track," said Hannah. "Stand aside, tenderfeet," ordered Bouncer. "This is a job for me and my rough-riding rowdies. We'll use my grandpap's favorite trick. First, dig a deep hole. Then, cover it with straw and bait it with honey. Tonight, the beast will smell the bait, stumble into the trap, and the island will be ours." By evening, the trap was completed. The mice spent a sleepless night in a nearby hole. The next morning, they discovered that the trap and the honey jar were empty. "Look!" shrieked Hannah. "Someone cut the rope! The ship is gone! We're marooned!" "Our only chance now," said Bouncer, "is to get rid of the Skog before he gets rid of us. Who will volunteer?" "It looks like a job for you and the rough-riding rowdies," said Jenny. "Whose idea was it to come here anyway?" All eyes turned back to Jenny, who had been thinking of a plan. "We must build a giant kite," she said, "and tie it to a very long rope. We'll circle our last honey jar with one end of the rope, and when the Skog steps into the circle, we will send the kite aloft. The Skog will be pulled into the air and towed out to sea." That night, the mice hid behind a sand dune and kept watch over the honey jar. Just after dawn, a shadowy figure appeared on the beach. The monstrous creature lurched toward the honey jar. trembling, the mice sent their kite high into the ocean wind. The plan had worked. But suddenly, the Skog came flapping apart, and half of him plunged back to the island. Surrender, you pirate! Suddenly, a little animal appeared. "Don't hurt me!" he cried. "We won't hurt you," said Wooster. "We were afraid of you. Why did you wear this monster costume?" "Because I was afraid of you," cried the Skog. "I was frightened by your cannons and your trap. So I wore this monster costume to scare you away." "What happened to our ship?" demanded Bouncer. "I cut the rope because I thought you were sleeping on board. I've been so lonely here, but I decided it was better to be alone than to be afraid." Then the mice realized that they had done the same thing to the Skog that their enemies in the old country had done to them. "If only we'd talked to each other," said Jenny. Bouncer stepped forward and helped the Skog to his feet. The mice and the Skog agreed to build a new island nation and live together. "Let's make plans right now," suggested Bouncer. "The first thing we'll need is a national anthem. Rowdies, you're the orchestra. The rest of you will be the chorus, and I will lead the music. Line up, everybody." Well, Bouncer was certainly up to his old tricks again. But everybody thought that a national anthem was a pretty good idea. "Heroes, let your voices ring. To our island home we sing. Shelter us from stormy seas. Keep our kitchen stuffed with cheese. Save our pelts from lice and fleas. Save our pelts from fleas and lice. Shout it once. Shout it twice. Friends forever. Skog and mice." They sang chorus after chorus and soon went to work building their new island home. And they are probably still there.
So, happy Rodent Day. So the character who dressed up to scare away... This reminds me very much of the Scooby-Doo plot. There was only one plot ever in Scooby-Doo, and it was the fact that there was never a ghost, there was never a monster, it was always a greedy person, usually a man, usually white, who used fear and old superstitions to basically scare people away, to scare them so that they could have whatever it was to themselves. And they would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for the meddling kids and their dog. Like over and over and over again. I used to do a zine called Zoinks. And Zoinks is... Some people said that Shaggy said Zoinks. Yeah, you know. Anyways, I always used... that was the kind of the mission behind Zoinks, was that it was, you know, whatever the fear mongering was about. It was usually to protect greedy people. It was, yeah. So anyways, that's the message I got out of that. But, you know, there's so many other messages. And that is another example of Weston Woods taking the illustrations of a book and panning across it and doing all the stuff to make it dynamic and moving. But it's called iconographic, and it's not animated by any stretch of the imagination. All right, where are we now? This is a great 70s film about water safety. So, enjoy.
Every year, lots of people make mistakes. Mistakes that get them in trouble in the water. Most of these people hadn't planned on going in the water. And, like Craig here, most of them were all alone when the accident happened. What could Craig have done to avoid this accident? What can he do now? What did this boy do to get himself in trouble? What can he do now? She made the same two mistakes our last friend made. Swimming alone and trusting a flotation device to take her farther than she could swim safely.
Yeah, you won all right, but you had a head start. I bet I could beat you across the river. Yeah, you haven't got a chance. Well, let's find out. Let me catch my breath. Oh, you're just afraid I'll beat you. I'm not. Come on then. Okay, on your mark, get set, go.
What did they do that got them into this trouble? What caused this accident? What can the others do to help him? This could be you, in the water with all your clothes on and no life preserver. Still, there's no reason to panic if you know what to do. If you've prepared yourself to be safe in the water first. If you want to be safe in the water, you should learn to swim. You can learn at your city pool or at the YMCA. You can also learn special ways of floating that can keep you safe even when you're very tired. Survival floating will keep you afloat for a long time with little energy. Here's how it's done. Breathe deeply, hold the breath, push down with your arms, exhale, and take another breath. It looks easy, but it's better to learn the proper technique before you end up in a situation where you need to use it. A situation like this. The water that Craig fell into is cold. In just a few seconds, cold water can wear you out. But Craig knows survival floating, so he can work his way to the shore with little effort. Even if you fall in the water with heavy clothing on, you can still float if you keep calm. Blowing air into your coat will help you to float even better. If you had to, you could float for a long time this way. And time can be important. Another way of avoiding trouble is to always swim with a buddy. Never swim alone. But don't try to be a show-off. Don't swim when you're tired or cold. And don't swim too far from shore. Rescuing a drowning victim is a job for a lifeguard. But if you must help someone in trouble, do it in a way that won't get you in trouble, too. The right way to help someone is to give them something to hold on to. And go for help. Keeping something between you and the drowning victim is important. It keeps them from grabbing you and getting you in trouble, too. No matter where an accident happens, there are right and wrong ways of trying to help. Here are some of the right ways of helping. Knowing how to prevent accidents and knowing what to do if an accident does happen is important. But too many people don't know anything about it. How about you? What should you know about water safety?
So I had to block somebody on YouTube who's just using this as a platform to not talk about educational films, but something else. So he's out. Now, if he wanted to talk about water safety, he's more than welcome to. Anyways, this next film is timely, circa 70s. It's about the metric system. This is a cornet film, and here we go. Let's measure using grams and kilograms. Woo!
You're not going to have me hit those balls, are you? Why not? Every time, either I get hurt or something breaks. Not this time. I promise. Isn't there an easier way?
Yes, there is.
How?
We can use a balance scale. Right now the pans are in balance. See?
Uh-huh.
Now put the balls on.
The pool ball has more mass?
Uh-huh. The more mass something has, the more it's pulled down by gravity.
You mean the more it weighs?
Uh-huh. And the less mass something has, the less it weighs. We can compare masses by comparing their weights.
What if we want to know how much mass something has?
We can compare it to standard mass.
To what?
These are standard masses. They're marked in grams. 1 g means 1 gram. A gram is a unit of mass.
It's in balance when that line goes straight down?
Uh-huh. 1 gram has about the same mass as a couple of paper clips.
What about these? They'll weigh more, won't they?
Uh-huh.
How much will 10 grams weigh?
Well, 10 times as much as 1 gram. About as much mass as a key.
Still pretty light. Let's see. 20, 50, 100. 100 grams feels a lot heavier.
About as much mass as a bar of soap.
What about this big one? The label says 1 kg, but it also says 1,000 g.
Kg means kilogram. A kilogram is 1,000 grams. have you got that weighs 1,000 grams? About as much mass as a small iron. Uh-huh. But what if you have something that doesn't weigh exactly 1,000 grams, or 100 grams, or 10 grams? Like a pool ball, or a tennis ball. How do we find out how much mass it has? I'm not sure. I bet I know a way. Let's try something lighter. 100 grams. Still too much. Yeah. Let's try 50. Now it's too little. We'll have to add some. 10 more. A little bit too much. Let's remove the 10 and try 5 more. Not quite enough. 2 more. Almost. Another 2. That does it. Uh-huh. Which means that the tennis ball weighs 55, 7, 9. 59 grams. Pretty good. But it takes so long. Well, I know a faster way. Instead of a balance scale, we can use a spring scale. I know how that works. The harder you push, the farther it moves. Uh-huh. It's marked to show how hard gravity pulls on standard masses. Suppose we take a standard 50-gram mass and put it on the scale. The pointer reads 50 grams. Now, if we use a 20-gram mass, what does it read now? I guess, each of the small marks is 10 grams. So the second mark is 20. Can we weigh something besides those masses? Sure. What do you want to weigh? An egg? Okay, put it on a scale. About 50 grams. Uh-huh. And now, see if you can guess how much something weighs. I don't know. I bet I can tell. I bet it weighs about 150 grams. I bet you're way off. You're wrong. It's over 200. Well, to be exact, it's 225 grams. Well, you were off anyway. Not really. You see, I didn't mean a whole apple. I meant an apple with a couple of bites on it. 150? Not quite 160. About 155. Pretty close, huh? Okay. See if you can guess how much this weighs. Pretty heavy. I bet at least a kilogram. It goes all the way around past the 0. It won't go any further. What do we do now? Well, the scale only measures up to 1 kilogram. We need a scale that'll handle more weight. This one will measure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 kilograms. So how much does the box weigh? I'd say about 2 kilograms. 2 kilograms, 200, 400, no, 200. Hey, what's happening in that box? I didn't do anything. Okay, let's see what's in there. A brick. And a toad. Hey, that's not fair. Who says? Okay, you've got me. But now I've got a question for you. What do people weigh every day that's much heavier than a brick or a toad? A person. I weigh about 45 kilograms. Now me, let's see what I weigh. Why bother? You're so small you probably wouldn't even move the dial. Oh, yeah? About 31 to about 32 kilograms. You sure are small, aren't you? Yeah. Well, I know a way that I can weigh just as much as you. Yeah? How? See? Now I weigh as much as you. Well, you're not going to weigh that for very long. No. How come? Because I'm going to tickle you.
He was really just jabbing her. It wasn't really tickling. So opening up the box, there's a brick and a toad. I really was not expecting that at all. Oh my goodness. Thanks everybody for joining us today for our streaming show. I was in a foul mood this morning, and I gotta say, putting this show together and having you guys comment and delight in what I was showing really lifted my spirits, and I hope that this show does the same for you guys. It is truly the one kind of morale thing that I do consistently, and so I very much, it's as therapeutic for me as I hope that it is for you. We'll do this again tomorrow. Tomorrow we start September. Good times. September. Good times. Have so many more films to show you. So many more films to talk about. And I appreciate you guys being there. Eyeballs being there and tuning in. And I appreciate the support. You know, there are ways you can support AV Geeks, but really just tuning in, just watching is the main way. But you can also hit like and subscribe if that means anything, really. Which I think it does, but I haven't really sat down to figure it out. Another way is buying us coffee. Another way is going to avgeeks.com and watching what we got online and ordering DVDs. But really just showing up. That's the most important thing. And I used to do monthly shows locally, and about 15, 20 people would show up. And so this has been really a wonderful replacement for that, and I thank you for that. I thank you so much for participating and contributing and being there. So we'll see you again tomorrow. Again, what we find in our film cans, you guys are probably sick of this hippy-dippy stuff, but please rewind and love each other. And we'll see each other tomorrow. Everybody take care.